Hello, Mrs. Wadomski here. I'm going to show you how to thread the sewing machines and do some troubleshooting so that you can go through and thread your machine. First couple of things with machines, you want to check to make sure that it's plugged in. Make sure that you're looking in the cabinet, so you have to look down below to make sure that it's plugged in. I showed you how to take it out of the cabinet in the demonstration, so make sure that all of the cords are set up properly and everything is in its place that it needs to be in, and all things are plugged in correctly. Then you're going to turn on your machine. If your light comes on, then you are all set. If your light does not come on, there's 3 things you need to check. Make sure that the plug is plugged into the outlet. If it is, make sure that the outlet is reset so that it's actually running. And if all of those are still going, then maybe the sewing light is blown and we have to put a new one in, which I will help you do. So when you have your machine ready and you know that it's set, you're going to take the foot control and you're going to move it either and put it on the counter next to you, so it's next to you on the counter so you don't accidentally hit it with your foot or nobody else accidentally hits it while you're trying to thread the machine. There are a couple of things that you have to do to set up the machine before you can actually thread. Make sure that you have a spool of thread and you need a bobbin. Most of our bobbins are full, but I am going to demonstrate how to wind the bobbin for you so that you can see that. So we have the machine turned on, the light is on, so we know that it's running. We have to set up a couple of things. First thing we need to do is we're going to turn the hand wheel so that the needle goes in its highest position. So remember, we're turning the hand wheel towards ourselves. Move so that the needle's in its highest position, and the take-up lever should be located up here. So you should be able to see the take-up lever, and it's in its highest position because remember, we have to put the thread through the center here. So we have to make sure that it's in its highest position. Make sure that the tension dial is in between 4 and 5, which it should already be set, and the presser foot has to be lifted. So the presser foot has to be up off of the needle plate. It can't be down on the feed dog. Okay, so it needs to be up. So that means you're taking the presser foot lifter and you're lifting it into the air. First thing we're going to do is we are going to wind the bobbin. So we're going to take our spool of thread and put it onto the spool pin. So take the cap off, put the spool of thread onto the spool pin, put the cap back on, not tightly. You should be able to turn your spool of thread. It shouldn't be stuck on there. And then we're going to go through and thread the machine. Okay, so once I have the thread on the spool pin, I'm going to use the thread guide and the thread tension dial to put it onto and wind on the bobbin. I'm going to take my bobbin first. There are 2 small openings. I have to feed the thread through the center up through the opening. So I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to thread it through the center, up through the opening. And then I'm going to hold this in place. I'm going to take my bobbin and I'm going to put it on the bobbin winder. Make sure I don't lose the thread. It's got to stay in the bobbin. I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to cross the thread. So I should create an X. See how there's an X? Then I have to put it around the tension disc. Through the tension disc. So it's just going through that tension disc, not underneath here, through the tension disc. Okay. I'm going to hold the thread here with my finger. I'm going to hit the indent, so the bobbin winder indent. And I'm going to hold the foot control in my hand so I have better control. You could do this with your foot. You're going to hold the thread here. You're going to push the bobbin towards the panel. That little panel right here stops the thread when it's been wound enough. I'm going to hold the thread. I'm going to slowly push on the foot control. Come on. and that's going to wind my bobbin. I'm going to let the bobbin wind until it's full, or the machine tells me that it has enough. I would go very slow, so you can see I'm going really slow. I'm not going fast, to make sure that I wind my bobbin, and you can see the threads going from the spool of thread to the bobbin, which is what I need. If I were making a small project like your pincushion, you don't need a ton. If you're making a larger project, then you'd want to have a lot of thread and let it go until it is set itself. We're going to take the bobbin off by pushing the bobbin winder out, pull the bobbin off, take the thread off of your tension disc, and then either take a pair of scissors or shears and cut the thread, or you can use the cutter that's in the back of the machine. So I'm going to show you how to do this so you can see. So that little crescent right there is a thread cutter. So I just take the thread and I slide it down and it cuts the thread for me. So now I have the thread cut and I have a wound bobbin, which is what I need. Okay, you also want to trim that thread that was coming out of the top of the bobbin so that you have it. Then you're going to take your bobbin and you're going to set it in the black case in the front of your machine until you're ready to insert it into the machine. Now we're going to thread the top thread of the machine. We talked about this last week, but the way that a machine sews is that the threads cross each other. So we have to have a bottom thread and we have to have a top thread, and they have to catch each other and go through the fabric. That's how it sews. So we're going to set up the top thread first. It should still be on the machine. So you should still have your spool of thread on your machine. You're going to take the thread and you're going to go through your first thread guide, which is down here. It's in the back of the machine. So you're going to take the thread and go down below that thread guide and then up, just pull it right through the opening. Then you're going to go to your next thread guide, which is right here. So literally all you're doing is holding the thread to the right of the tension disc and setting it into that small opening. Closer so you can see. Okay, so that's just through that small little opening right here. That's all that it has to do. Next, you're going to go through and follow the arrows. So we've got an arrow that says to go down this way. I go under my tension dial because there's actually discs inside here that control the tightness and looseness of the thread. So I have to go underneath those, up, follow the arrow to the right of the take-up lever. I have to swing around the take-up lever, in through the machine, down through the machine, and pull towards myself and see how the thread went into the take-up lever. That's what you need. I'm going to show you that again because that one's kind of tricky. So underneath the tension dial, to the right of the take-up lever, down into the machine, go down towards the bottom or the needle, and then pull towards yourself. And the thread's going to go by itself through the take-up lever, which is what we need. If it's not through the take-up lever, it's not going to sew. Down through to the next thread guide, which is this little corkscrew guy. You're going to start to the left of him and sweep around 1, 2 times, and the thread is going to go in there by itself. You don't have to try to thread it through there. You're just going to sweep around twice to get it through that thread guide. Next thread guide is right here at the top of the needle arm, underneath the needle clamp. So we're going to just hold the thread in one hand, go towards the back of the needle, and pull down so that the thread goes through that thread guide. There's an opening on this side. It just has to go through that, and then it'll catch in that thread guide. The next piece is to go through the eye of the needle. So I'm going to pause the video quick to get that set up. So at this point, you're going to need a pair of scissors or shears, and you're just going to make a small little cut to the end of the thread to make sure that it's all straight and clear. It's going to make it easier to go through the eye of the needle. Very important that your thread should go right down the needle, and you're going to insert the thread through the needle from your side to the back side. If you're working on machine A, B, C, you're going to go threading towards the windows. If you're on E, F, D, I, you're going to thread towards the kitchens. If you're on machine Okay, Ms. Udomsky here again, part 2 of the threading the machine video. We left off with threading the needle. We're almost set with the entire machine. I left off with telling you that if you're on G or H, you should thread towards the classroom door. So you have to get your needle or your thread through your needle. You're going to pull the thread slowly so it doesn't loop until it is all the way through the eye of the needle and it's just going straight down the needle. Okay, that's really important. That's how it needs to be set up. So the thread needs to go straight down the straight down the needle through the eye of the needle. The last piece is you're going to pull the thread through the opening between the toes of the presser foot, and then the thread just goes at the back of the machine like this. And now the top thread is done. You have your top thread set up. Okay, so the next piece is to insert the bobbin into the machine so that your bottom thread is set up. So we're going to take this bobbin, we're going to put it into the space under here. So the slide plate moves out of the way. This is our bobbin case. This is what holds the bobbin. Very important that your bobbin, to insert it correctly, needs to look like a letter P. So if you look here, we've got the tail of the P to the left of the, that's better, to the left of the bobbin case. This is how I'm going to insert it into the machine. I'm going to then take the thread and I've got to put it through 2 notches. There's a notch right here and then there's a notch right here. So I'm going to slide the thread through so that it's resting up at the top of that thread. Then I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to move it towards the needle like this, and I'm going to close the slide plate. There's a small opening right here. There's like a little crack here that's going to hold the thread in place so that it's correct placement so that I can thread the machine. You're going to close this when you're going to thread the machine, but I want you to see what it's going to look like, so I'm going to leave it open. It's not going to hurt to leave it open. Like, you could leave it open and it would be fine, but I just want you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to hold the top thread. So that's the thread that I put through the eye of the needle. That's just hanging out at the back of the machine. I'm going to hold that in place. I'm going to take the hand wheel indent, push it back in. So now the bobbin winder is not going to be controlled. The needle is going to be controlled, which I need to have happen. I need the needle to go up and down so that the thread will grab the bobbin thread. So this is all set. I'm going to go back over here so you can see what happens. I'm going to hold the top thread. I'm going to turn the hand wheel towards myself. Needle's going to go down. Thread's going to go into the machine. It's going to grab that bobbin thread. And it's going to pull the bobbin thread up underneath the presser foot. I'm going to just do one full rotation. So the needle just went down and came back up to the highest position. I'm going to let go of the top thread. I'm going to take a pair of scissors, shears, or a pin, and I'm going to pull that bobbin thread through. So now I have both threads at the back of the machine. So now you should have 2 threads back here. Your bobbin thread should be inserted correctly through your machine. You're going to close your slide plate, and now your machine is threaded correctly. Please have me check your machine before you move forward and try to sew anything. I'm going to do another video to show you how to actually set it up so that you can sew with your fabric. Okay? Thank you very much.